Oh, 9/11. Warm up my coffee. So I was just thinking, most of us sit today and remember where we were, right? And it's so important. It's so important. And there's research that talks about how you remember hard times, like because they obviously stick in your brain. So sometimes parents will say, like, boy, my children only remember the bad experiences. Well, that's what kind of happens in your brain, right? The really good or the really bad. And I just hope people are thinking and remembering. I think there's a thought of like, we don't want to talk about it, or we don't want to think about it, or I don't know. And thinking about hard things is good and good for your soul. Even if it affected you, obviously 9/11, or it didn't affect me personally, um, but it did affect thousands of people really personally. And I can say from experience, I've had other things affect me personally. And when I lost my own brother, my MO was just to kind of like move on and not think or talk about it and just be happy and move on. And I didn't realize 25 years later, holy cow, that way of handling it was really not good. And so I tell people that because I wish I had known, I wish somebody had said to me, like, you have to feel all the feelings. And so I guess today it's on my subscriber video this morning, somebody said, well, maybe it should be a national holiday. And I guess in my mind, it's like, we want to keep going. We want to show the world like, damn it, this isn't going to stop us. But we also have to remember, and it's hard. It's hard to remember hard things. My son had a meeting in the World Trade Center at 10. We had to drive from Massachusetts to New York to get him. He was stuck at Penn Station. Got a call from my sister right before taking my kids to school. Lost a distant cousin. I grew up 10 miles from Flight 93 plane crash. For me, we lost so much more than lives and property that day. That was the beginning of the end of our freedoms. You're right, Jane. I think we, back then, you didn't even have to show an ID to go on an airplane. You just bought your ticket and you just got on the airplane. And now, you have to show your ID, the name better match. I remember when my kids were little, I don't think they do it now, but there was a period of time there where after Richard Reed, you had to take off your baby's shoes. And I remember like fussing and then like trying to tell myself not to fuss. Like I had a 3-month-old and I had to take off his little like leather shoes. And I was like, what world do we live in? Like where we're having to take off a baby's shoes, And now we go to the airport and we do all the things we're told because we want to stay safe. And we recognize that we've got to do our best to try to stay safe, even if we can't. My brother-in-law was in the Pentagon. I remember the day like it was yesterday, every single detail. In Australia, we woke up to the footage. My husband and I thought it was a scene from a movie. We thought, surely it's not real. Just dropped our daughter off at College William Smith in Geneva. She said they were told to stay in their dorms, don't go home. Mary Grace, I worked for American Airlines, and my friend was one of the people who took a call from the flight attendant, Betty. Oh. My husband was working at Logan Airport on the checkpoints when this happened. Sophomore in high school. My mom's best friend's brother worked for Cantor Fitzgerald as security. He just retired from the NYPD. How do you feel about Biden not being at a site but in Alaska? You know, I could give a rat's ass to start trying to have an argument about Biden this morning. That's how I feel about it. I think that's part of the problem is that really like what we want to talk about? Because I don't. I think if anything, what people are saying here is that like, boy, back then we were united. And I think we want to be united. I think we all want a president that unites us. And I've yet to see a candidate that is that person personally, but you know, so be it. I look at George Bush that day, and I was young. I was in my 20s. I wasn't married. I don't know what George Bush was doing for the country, but I will say that George Bush stood up there with his arm around a fireman, or George Bush in that classroom full of children and the man whispering in his ear. And you were thankful that he was your president, you know? And I just really, that's the person I want. I want somebody that I feel proud of, you know? So I woke up that morning, I was asleep at my parents' house, and my parents were in London, and I was in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And my friend Maggie woke me up and said, "Are you watching television?" And I was like, "No, I'm asleep." I worked from home way back in the day, which nobody worked from home back then, but I did. And I got up and went down, turned on, the TV, and I think I was watching Matt Lauer and sitting there watching, and the second tower went down. And it was like such a loss of innocence, I would say, for probably most Americans, that remember that, because I don't know, it just seemed like a terrorist wasn't a real thing until then. Carol, I lost my husband on 9/11, changed the whole trajectory of my life. Oh, Carol. Oh, Carol. No, I'm sorry. But if you want to get back to being that American, like, don't try to make arguments and fuss and be nitpicky and passive aggressive and, like, screw that. Like, aren't people tired of hearing that? I am. Like, I don't want fussing. I live in Pennsylvania where the escaped convict is still missing. I pray that they catch him already. Well, I do too. And things are tough. Like, you have Morocco. I mean, 2,000 people at least murdered, or not murdered, but killed by a darn earthquake. There's a giant hurricane out there. I mean, I tell you what, life ain't easy, people. It is not easy. Ugh. This coffee is terrible. I'm trying not to put milk in it because I was not home by myself. Such a sad, dark day. Well, anyway, I just thought, I think people are, it's hard for me to know on a day like this, like, and it's a Monday and you've got work to do and you're doing all this stuff. And it's like, there's a part of us that just wants to get in or me that like wants to get in my bed and feel sad. And I don't even really, and when Carol's, she's lost her husband, so she knows what to feel sad about. But some of us don't even have anything concrete to feel sad about, but we feel sad, and it's like, how do you deal with those feelings? This morning, somebody said, my husband doesn't want me to watch, these memorials. And I was like, wow, it's so interesting. I bet there are people out there who lost loved ones on 9/11, and they are like, la, 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 I'm going to just carry on about my day. And I guess if that's you, I would encourage you to talk and to feel the feelings and to shed the tears and to be angry and, you know, feel the feelings. Don't just think I'm going to bury all this hurt and heartache and move on with my life, because I will tell you, you're not going to be able to. And maybe you've been trying for 25 years, but it's not going to work. It will catch up to you. It will catch up to you. PTSD for the country. Yeah, Sharon, maybe that's the way it is. I need to get up, but I feel heavy of heart. Yeah, it's hard. And it's okay to acknowledge, like, why do I feel so sad? It didn't affect me personally. I have lots to be thankful for. I don't live in Morocco. I'm not hiding from a escaped convict in Pennsylvania. I'm just sitting here. I mean, I got a little person with autism to school today, and he got out of the car by himself and went into the school building. Like, these are wonderful things, you know? So, anyway, it's a juggle. It's a juggle. If you bury anything alive, it will come back to haunt you. Oh, that's interesting. And talking to our kids about it too, you know? I've never really talked to my kids about it. I was in Paris on 9/11 when it was a scary time to be so far from our home. Yeah, my parents were in London, and I remember talking to my mother, and she just sounded so scared, you know, and she just kept saying, we just want to get home. We just want to get home. And I was thinking, I just want her to get home. And, you know, we look back and think, why did she feel the need to get home? Why was that a worry? But I think it was like we just wanted familiar. Let's all do something nice today for someone. So one of my subscribers this morning, I hadn't even put that together. I think there are people doing that. She said she was in line at a drive-thru at McDonald's, and the person in front of her had paid, and so she paid for the person behind her. I think that's a great idea. What can we do that's nice today? What can we say that lifts somebody up? What can we feel that makes us a better human, you know? So if you have something negative or you just feel like being passive aggressive, go do it in your own space, you know, because I don't have time for it. No. I have a meeting at 10 a.m. this morning, which I didn't schedule on purpose for today, but it's definitely a God wink to me. I am meeting with the person about a fund for a name of my brother at the Boys and Girls Club in Rocky Mount. And we are kind of talking about what we're going to do with that fund of money and how it's going to be used to help people. And I think, thank you, Lord, for making that meeting today, because that's a great thing to remember and do something better and make the world better, you know, out of a tragedy. So anyway, I'm excited about that, which I guess means I need to go put on real clothes or a real shirt with my sweat shorts. My church used to have a 9/11 work day. Oh, that's a neat idea. I bet Alexandra. So anyway, my granddaughter was born this next September. 5 years later, I picked her up and she got in the car and told me the story of 9/11. They had talked about it in class. Yeah, I think they do talk about it at school. So anyway, everybody do something good for humanity today. Stop arguing about politics. This would be a good time to practice that, though it's clearly a people struggle. You know, I have a lot of opinions about things. When I see people spending a ton of time on dumb mess, I'm like, oh my gosh, my thought is always, holy cow, we need people out at school helping, like volunteering and buying wrapping paper so we can go on field trips. Like, don't sit around and waste your time over dumb mess when you can do something to better the life of a child or a family, you know? I can tell you the name of every student in my class that day. Wow. You were such a kind person. There's some that might disagree with you, but I do care. You know, I might be a smartass, but I do care about people and hopefully live my life in a way that points to making the world better, which I think we all can do. It's not that hard, you know? It's really not. But anyway, 9/11, go do something nice for somebody. Thanks.